What happens if the water doesn't turn into wine? Every year in the month of February, for the past 22 years that I have served as the pastor of this church, every year in the month of February, for 22 straight years, you could count on me to preach a message about love and relationships. This upcoming week in our culture, on the 14th, which is Friday, in case you forgot, is Valentine's Day. So normally I talk to folks about they boo thing. And you ain't supposed to have but one boo thing. Today is a slightly different day. Today I want to address perhaps the most forgotten group of people who genuinely tried to make their marriages work, but somehow that marriage ended up in separation or divorce. Perhaps the most unministered to group in the entire world is men and women who have gone through separation or divorce. Even though it is prevalent and it affects many, if I were to ask for a show of hands, and I will not ask for a show of hands, you would see many hands raised to identify with the fact that either directly or indirectly you have been affected by this issue of divorce. I'm talking about people who meant well, who did all that they could to hold it together, and somehow the wine still ran out. And when the wine ran out, even with Jesus and water present, the water still didn't turn into wine. I want to minister to people who tried and failed in their trying. And I want to breathe life into your heart and into your mind on how to handle life even when the water doesn't turn into wine. John chapter 2 records the first miracle that Jesus ever performed. Jesus was invited to a wedding. His mother was there, and his disciples were also there. In antiquity, during the first century, wedding ceremonies lasted longer than 30 minutes. It was a 7-day celebration. The ceremony would occur initially, and then there would be 7 days of celebrating. It was a major function, a major affair. And one of the key elements that had to be present at the 7-day wedding celebration was wine. It would be like going to Thanksgiving dinner and not find a turkey on the table. It was a common staple, a common element that was present at every wedding celebration. There had to be wine. At this wedding, they ran out of wine. Most scholars believe that the reason Mary attended this wedding is because she was related to the groom. And when the servants recognized that they were running out of wine, they went to Mary as a family member. And they said to her, "This party is about to be shut down." The maximum level of embarrassment in their day that could be brought to a family was if you had a party and you ran out of wine. It was even worse than if you tried to cook macaroni and cheese. using square slices of cheese. Some stuff you just ain't supposed to do. It would have been more embarrassing even than falling short on the macaroni and cheese. Some of y'all cooked mac and cheese and took it to the Thanksgiving dinner 3 years ago, and you've been bringing cups ever since. Because your people don't want nothing that come out your kitchen. After they go to Jesus' mother, they say to her, we're running out of wine. And Jesus' mother goes to Jesus and says to him, our family is about to experience maximum embarrassment. And Jesus' response was, you read it in the King James Version, he says, woman, what have I to do with thee? New American Standard says, that's not, or the Message Bible says, that's none of my business, that's none of your business. And Mary turns to the servants who came to her to tell her that the wine was running out, and she said to them, whatever he tells you to do, do it. And that's an enigma in and of itself, Sister Mary, because Jesus shut her down. But based on the look he had on his face when he shut her down, Mary recognized that it was not a denial and it was not a delay. It was simply a challenge to her faith. She says to the servants, I don't know what he's going to do, but whatever he tells you to do, do it. And Jesus said, those 6 water pots that you all have that you use for the ceremonial washing of your hands, they didn't wash their hands in the pot. They dipped water out of the pot for the washing of hands. Jesus said, get new water and fill the pots back up. They went, filled the pots back up to the brim. Jesus said, now dip out of the pot and take whatever you dip to the head waiter and let him taste it. And when the head waiter took a sip of what had been transformed by Jesus, he called to the bridegroom and said, man, when we planned this party, the way that we orchestrated this is we served the good wine first, and then we were going to bring out the Boone's Farm, the old Manischewitz, the MD 2020. I got some Mad Dog saints in here. Don't act like you've been walking like this all your life. Some of y'all got some Crown Royal bags hanging from your rearview mirror now. The head waiter said to the bridegroom, you have saved the best for last, which means the water that Jesus turned into wine tasted better than the finest wine that they had been serving for the last 7 days. Jesus turned water into wine. I want to look at this familiar passage, Dr. Jones, in an unfamiliar way, because one of the questions I wrestle with, Brother Knox, is why did they run out of wine in the first place? So really, if I was breaking this into pieces, that would have to be the first piece, reasons you may have run out of wine. I want to give you some practical reasons that the wine may have run out at this party. And then I want to reverse it and give you these practical reasons and apply them to family and relationships. So let me give you the first possibility as to why they may have run out of wine. Here's the first possibility. maybe somebody ordered too little. Maybe somebody, they didn't properly estimate the crowd size, and maybe they just didn't order enough. Somebody ordered too little. That's one reason they could have run out of wine. They just didn't order enough. Let me give you a second reason that they could have run out of wine. Somebody drank too much. Amen. Because some of y'all know what it's like to plan an event and somebody tell you they're going to come, and then they bring 3-4 people with them. And then some folks are more thirsty than other folks and drink up all your stuff. I've gone to events where it was a buffet, but they still had people serving you in the buffet line. And that slice of roast beef, when they cut that thing off, it was thin enough for me to see through it. Because the message they were trying to send was, we see all these folks in here, and we want to make sure that everybody gets a piece. So maybe they ordered too little. Maybe somebody drank too much. Here's a third possibility. Maybe somebody destroyed some of the bottles. Maybe the servants, when they were in the back, were preparing to unload a case of wine, and they dropped some of the cases. Very practical reasons. Hey, this was not a sham wedding. They had money. They had a bride and groom. They had a family. They had servants, and they had a head waiter, but they still ran out of wine. I want to minister to people who have dealt with separation and divorce, to prick something in your heart to help you understand why you may have ended up in divorce in the first place. First reason is maybe you ordered too little. Let me give you another word for that. It is the word incompatibility. Incompatibility. Maybe you married someone, and at the time you married them, they could handle who you were, but over time they just couldn't handle who you became. That's God's word to some single folks in here. You got your eye on Mr. or Mrs. Right. You think that they are the one. The reason you need supernatural wisdom in making lifelong decisions is because where you are now is not where you will always be. And when you choose a life partner, you got to let God show you who that partner is, because the one that God has for you can handle where you are and grow with you as you make it to where you're going. And the reason that some folks just didn't work out is because of incompatibility. You didn't order enough wine. You needed an extra large and you got an extra small. You just didn't order enough. Maybe somebody ordered too little. Hey, but then I say it, maybe somebody drank too much. Could it be that the reason my relationship ended up in separation or divorce is because sometimes we take people for granted? You know another word for that? Neglect. Neglect. You take people for granted. You thought the grass was greener on the other side of the fence, but when you got over there, you discovered it was astroturf. Somebody drank too much, found themselves in a place of neglect because someone took the other for granted. But then maybe somebody destroyed some of the bottles, which means that there are elements that can attack a marriage even while you're doing the very best that you can do to make it work. Sometimes there are forces beyond your control, because you can control what you do. You just can't control what the other person does. Pastor, do you have some examples? I do. Infidelity, abuse, abandonment is when someone else destroyed the bottles. You didn't plan on running out of wine, but you ran out of wine because maybe you ordered too little, maybe somebody drank too much, or maybe somebody destroyed some of the bottles. Reasons you may have run out of wine. Well, I don't want to leave you there. I want to push you one step further and talk about lessons learned from running out of wine. Now, it's bad enough to go through. It's worse when you go through and don't learn from what you've been through. And perhaps we could save a lot of marriages if we talked more about what we learned from what didn't work. Because we so funny. Not none of y'all in here, but some of y'all cousins. Some of y'all cousins who are thankful that things are going well now, but never want to be transparent about what you had to go through to get where you are now. I encourage people, because some of y'all looking for somebody. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. You looking for somebody. Everywhere. Everywhere you go, you looking for somebody. Everywhere. You questioning the Lord about everything. Lord, is that him? And some folks say, Lord, if that ain't him, make it him. It belong to somebody else. Often we don't want to talk about what we had to go through to get where we are. Lessons learned from running out of wine. Here's the main thing I want to share with you, or the first thing I want to share with you. I'm speaking to married people specifically at this point. Recognize this. It is possible. It's possible to run out of wine. You know the reason, especially saved folk, Christian folk, the reason we often miss out on things is because we can't identify what may happen. If someone would have told me in 1993, when I got married at the age of 20 years old, that nearly 21 years later, in 2014, that my marriage would end in divorce, I would have told them, you have lost your mind. Because in my mind, I knew that I had done the right thing, the right way, and it would last forever. Only to discover that the wine would run out. Even with your best intentions, even with your best laid plans, the wine can run out. Don't miss this. I'm not talking about choices or things that you do. I'm talking about something that can happen to you. Let me breathe a strong word to couples. If your spouse is begging you to fix something, listen to them. Because there are several Greek words for love. One word is agape. That's the form of love that God has for us. It is an everlasting love. It will never change. First love is what? Agape. Agape. A-G-A-P-E. Agape. It's the first form of love. It's the kind that God has for us. The second form of love is storge. S-T-O-R-G-E. That's the kind of love that parents have for their children and children have for their parents. It's called storge, and it ought to be an everlasting love. Even if your child is bad, you still love them. Even though your parents may not have been perfect, you still love them, and you look like them. And trust me, the older you get, the more you look like them. And for long, if you ain't careful, you start acting like them. So there's agape, then there's storge, then there's a third form of love. It is philia. That's the love, that's why the city of Philadelphia is called the city of brotherly love. That's the love that brothers and sisters have for each other, or the love that exists between friends. It is a strong love. It can be a lasting love. But then there's another form of love, another Greek word for love. It is the word eros, E-R-O-S. It is where we get our English word erotic, and it is a romantic form of love. And here's what I want to warn you about. There are at least 4 Greek words that describe love: agape, storge, philia, and eros. Agape is the love that God has for us. Storge is the love that parents have for their children. Philia is the love you have for your friends. Eros is the love you have for your boo thing. Here's what I want to warn you of. Eros can die. What I never counted on, Sister Miller, is while I will always love with the love of God the former Mrs. Thorpe, a part of me that loved her as a husband died. It was not suicide, it was homicide. I don't know if y'all came for this today. Which means it didn't kill itself. Circumstances killed it. And what I want to share with you is you may be dealing with some circumstances that you refuse to face without understanding that either your love for them or their love for you is on life support. And if you're not careful, it will die. And you can look right at them, love them with the love of God, but you just don't feel the same toward them. And the word that I breathe to husbands and wives is that if your spouse is begging you to get something straight, listen to them before it's too late. Pastor Thorpe, how can I know if I'm getting close? I'm glad you asked. You all asked such wonderful questions on Second Sundays. I'll go through these quickly. One way you can know if their love is on life support is when the fight dies down. When the fight dies down. See, because right now, y'all, not none of y'all in here, some of y'all cousins, y'all just fight all the time. Because one is constantly trying to pull the other one in a different direction, and you fight all the time. Here's what I want to warn you of. If you ain't careful, A day is going to come, and they ain't going to want to fight no more. And you keep pushing the same buttons, but you don't get the same result. And you think you've won, when the reality is their love for you is about to die, and you are about to lose. Hey, you can tell when the fight dies down. Hey, here's a second way you can tell you're on life support: when the caring slows down. Because right now, y'all might be fighting over what y'all going to have for dinner, and y'all fight about it all the time. If you're not careful, a day will come, and he'll say, I don't care what you fix. Really don't matter that much to me anymore. The caring slows down. And you go to work all big, bad, and bold. I run everything in my house. Everybody get quiet when I come home. That ain't out of respect. They just can't stand you. They just don't care like they used to care. And you keep pushing the same buttons and have not recognized that you are no longer getting the response that you used to get, because the caring has slowed down. So first way you know you're on life support is when the fight dies down, when the caring slows down. Here's number 3: when the coping heats up. If they get off at 5, work 15 minutes from the house, but don't come home until 9, when they know you getting ready to go to bed, is because they have developed a coping mechanism. The coping mechanism is, if they don't have to talk to you, if they don't have to see you, if they don't have to fight with you, they just deal with it by becoming absent. It's called a coping mechanism. Now when you fight, they say, you know what? You're right. The way you see it, that's what it is. Whatever you got to, whatever you think it, you own it. That's it. They've developed a coping mechanism. There's a danger in coping mechanisms, because the further you drift away from the one you love, it may push you in the direction of somebody you think you want. Coping mechanism. So if they've been begging you for it, whatever it is, for 7 years, and now they don't beg for it anymore, it's not because they don't want it, they just don't want it from you. We can't be transparent in church. And what has occurred is their body is there with you, but their mind is on the other side of town. I got some young folks in here and they never heard that. Don't make me sing it. And it's a coping mechanism that wears jeans. And what you used to do that you stopped doing, they're tempted to find somebody else who will do. Coping mechanism. And you walking around with your chest stuck out like you a Mr. or Mrs. Big Stuff, because you've been fighting all these years, and all of a sudden you think you've won, so that what you've been refusing to give, they no longer ask for, and you think you have won something, when the truth is, you lost it. And I want to warn married people that if there's something your spouse is begging you to deal with. Deal with it before it's too late. So I want you to see, first of all, when it comes to the wine running out, it is possible. And I say that even for the one who is doing the asking. Recognize that you may be coming closer to a point of no return than you think you are. It is possible. Hey, let me push it a step further. Not only is it possible, but sometimes it's preventable. It's preventable. In verse 1 through verse 3, at this wedding celebration, at the end of the celebration, probably on day 6 or day 7, they ran out of wine. When you read, and we read the entirety of this collection of verses, the groom didn't know they were out of wine. The bride didn't know they were out of wine. The head waiter didn't know they were out of wine, which means the wedding coordinator didn't know that the wine had run out. Only the servants knew. And the servants went to a family member and said to the family member, "We are about to run out of wine." Why did they go to Mary? They didn't know nothing about Mary being the mother of Jesus. They didn't know anything about Jesus' miracle-working power. They went to Mary because they knew as a family member she would be concerned and do whatever she could to fix whatever was wrong. Which put something in my spirit concerning your wine running out, my wine running out. And it is this: maybe you should have involved the right people sooner. I'm finna mess with you. Because if you've been where I've been, a startling reality hit me in separation, which led to divorce. What hit me was all the people that I felt obligated to inform immediately that I was in trouble. Okay, let me see if I can put it in your lap. Don't raise your hand. But if you've gone through separation or divorce, there was somebody you told after that you did not tell before. Okay, let me push it a little further. While you were going through trouble in the relationship, there were some people you talked to, they just couldn't do nothing about it. So the question may become, if you had talked to the right people sooner. Hey, because the question becomes, why did you tell them after the fact if you didn't tell them before? I called people when my separation became public because I didn't want them to find out in the street. I wanted them to hear it from me. It was a list of people that I wrote. And one by one, I contacted them because I didn't want them to hear in the street what had occurred. I wanted them to hear it from me. And the question I asked myself, Brother Rick, is why did I call the people on that list? Where did that list come from? That list was a list of people whose respect I had earned and whose love had made an impact on me. And here's what I wrestle with, Dr. Jones. What if 5 years before I had called on them and they pulled me and my former in the same room, put one hand on her and one hand on me, and helped pray and push us through what we had found ourselves in? Maybe you should have involved the right people sooner. Because I want to warn you, ma'am, if you've been talking to the same person, your girlfriend, your cousin, whoever it is in your life, about the trouble you're having with your marriage, and they can't do, if all they do is prop you up and tell you know what, you're right, they wrong. If that's all they do, if they don't ever say, listen, can I bring the two of you together and we work this out now while there's still life in it? So whoever that person is in your life that you've been going to, telling them about your problem, and they love you, they mean well, they just ain't the right people. And if that thing is on life support, find you somebody who can help put some life back into it before it's too late. All right, so it is possible. It is sometimes preventable. Here's the last thing. It is recoverable, which means even though your last water didn't turn into wine, your next water can turn into wine. Divorce is not a death sentence. God will let you love again. Now take your time. Everything that glitters ain't gold. Take your time. Let God speak to you. Let God speak to them. Don't be in such a hurry. It is recoverable. Why? Because Jesus can still turn water into wine. All right, let me give you some advice, and I'm done. First piece of advice, if you've gone through separation and divorce, his first thing I want to recommend that you do, keep Jesus at the party. Keep Jesus at the party. Don't go through all of that hellaciousness and then turn around and start walking in the flesh to pick up some new hellaciousness. Keep Jesus at the party. Keep him close by so that when Mr. or Mrs. Right show up, Jesus can point them out to you. Not your friend now, because you got to watch some of them. Girl, I think he the one. You don't know nothing about that man. Man, you better hold that one down. You don't know them people. You know about them. You don't know them. You know about them. You need to let Jesus show you some stuff. Keep Jesus at the party. Hey, here's the second one. Be willing to think outside of the box. Be willing to think outside of the box. Because the Lord may not work the way you think he's going to work. See, you keep going through your list of classmates. You on christianmingle.com, if that is such a thing. You trying to search Instagram and Facebook. Can I tell you something about social media? Them people are not necessarily what their profile picture depicts. You know how I know, Sister Mangum, that people profile pictures are not who they are? If you're on social media and I go through your phone, I will see the 20 pictures you took in the same outfit until you found one out of the 20, added some filters, and then uploaded it. So that version of you we seeing ain't the real you. Photoshop is something else. So you got to be willing to think outside of the box. This past week, I read a book by a dear colleague, Pastor Clinton McFarland, who also went through separation and divorce, pastors one of the largest churches in Atlanta, Georgia, preaches all over the country. And he talked about how heartbroken he was that his marriage had died. He went into a deep state of depression, and the Lord was able to pull him out. But one day he was at a Baptist convention and saw two ladies coming down a flight of stairs. And in his book, he writes, "The Lord said to him, 'That's your wife.'" And he made an attempt to speak to her. She shut him down. He tried again the next day. She shut him down. And he said, "Lord, did you really say what I thought you said?" But he didn't give up. He kept on pursuing. Tracked her down. She lived in a completely different state. Tracked her down. She wasn't easy to get either. Tracked her down. And they're married today. And he's as happy as he has ever been. Because he recognizes sometimes the Lord moves in mysterious ways. Because I had somebody knew what I was talking about. Because there's some things you have tried and they have failed. Thank you for being so patient with me. I know I got to let you go. I'm just trying to hope somebody. Come back next Sunday. I'll condense it and shorten it up. But today just one of them days. Think outside of the box. Hey, here's the last thing, and I'm done. Number one, keep Jesus at the party. Number two, be willing to think outside of the box. Here's the last thing, and I'm done. Keep your pots clean and some water close by. Don't throw your pot away. Don't throw the water away. Keep the pots clean. Keep some water close by. Because Jesus can still turn water into wine. And all the people said, amen. Somebody is sitting in church next to wine this morning. I can't get people to be honest in here. Some folks don't want to be honest that it didn't work out the first time, but you stayed at it and the Lord took your water and turned it into wine.